Yeah, of course. What's up, guys? We are live. Caught Hector a little bit unexpected. Caught him with his pants down.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, welcome. We did another one of these. What was it? A few months ago, or was this 4 or 5 months ago?
I have no idea. Time is weird.
Yeah. So this is Hector. He's from Girlschase. Girlschase is a company that I highly respect. I actually grew up reading them. So before I even had this channel, I was reading their content. So they have. I wasn't familiar with the YouTube channel as much. I know you more do the YouTube videos, but the articles were definitely, I don't want to say huge inspiration, but they were an inspiration. So yeah, man, great to have you on. So you want to give a quick little bit of background about yourself before we jump into it?
Sure. So I've been doing this professionally since I was writing. I started writing articles in the summer of 2014. I did like a college game debut kind of thing. And then he took Chase, the owner, took me on as a full-time writer. And then come 2017, I started doing coaching and really focusing on that. And then around like 6 months to a year after that, started the YouTube channel. So that's my professional career. I've been doing that since technically like 8 years, I guess, teaching guys. But I come more from a video game nerd, going to college, having his awakening, going to parties, talking to girls, more naturally, I guess, natural kind of learning how the dynamics work, socializing, sex, seduction, courtship, and then found the pickup community after a bad breakup, as a lot of people have the same story, and was doing Daygame, actually, which is apt for this discussion we're going to have. And I wanted to learn how to talk to girls during the day. So I ended up finding Girlschase, among other places that teach this, other resources. And so I started reading the articles for the website that I was going to work for in the future and focused on day games because I came from a social circle night game background. And I fell in love with that. And then, you know, that was the story from there, and became a coach. And I'm here now today.
Yeah, guys, if you guys want to see a more in-depth story here, check out the part 1 that we did. Yeah, it was about 4 months ago, so check that out. We go into way more detail. On this one, we're going to focus specifically on 2 things. One, we're going to analyze and debate the merits and pros and cons of day game versus online. And the second thing we're going to do is we're just going to answer all your questions. So if you guys have questions, write them in the chat and we will answer them. You don't have to do any super chats or any gay shit like that. You know, if you want to show your support, that's awesome, but we'll answer your questions either way. We're not going to go for too long. Probably going to be 45 minutes. So yeah, let's do it. All right, Hector. So why is day game better than online?
Okay, so day game, usually you're going to get a higher quality of girl, since online dating,
no, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Since online dating is heavily focused on your pictures, your text game after it, you're going to be a little bit limited by possibly your looks or how you look in a picture if you're photogenic, if you're making good pictures or not. Whereas in person, you're armed not with just your looks, but your verbal skills, your vibe, your fundamentals, your eye contact, your hand gestures, your facial expressions, your sense of humor is much more easily communicated through the 5 senses, whereas online dating, at first, it's going to be just sight. And then while you're talking and texting, it's more of an intellectual thing. Whereas a lot of being attractive is in what I call your fundamentals, your voice, your eye contact, your hand gestures, all of that. And so you're kind of armed with this repertoire that gives you such a more robust ability to express who you are and what girls might find attractive. They might see a picture of you, not be attracted, but you go in and you start spitting game, and she can hear, you know, the way you speak is very charismatic. So she wouldn't have swiped right, but in a day game situation, she's attracted. And also you remove like the competition. Most guys aren't doing day game. She's swiping. She might not even see you. Or let's say she goes through like, 20 guys that day. Well, how many guys that day are approaching her during the day? Probably 0. So you're the only one who's kind of showing, you have like the VIP access kind of.
So let me pose this question. What if you mentioned that one of the advantages of day game is that you have all the other things. You have, your body language, your eye contact, your voice tonality, which I agree with. But what if all those things suck? Like, what if your body language sucks? What if your voice contact sucks? Couldn't that be a double-edged sword? Couldn't it be an advantage and a disadvantage? Like, let's take a virgin, for example, right? All his shit probably sucks. So for him, wouldn't it be better? But let's say he's, somewhat decent looking. He's not a model, but he's not
right. He's not a troll.
Wouldn't it be better for him if he had to do less? Like, if he didn't have to like show his personality, because his personality sucks.
As a starting point, perhaps, but this journey is a long journey. Depending when you want to get off the train, different people have different aspirations. Some guys like us want to fuck as many girls, the hottest girls. Other guys maybe just want a girlfriend. So the amount of work you put in is going to, change how much you get out of it. But I would suggest that if this guy is, let's say he doesn't even have a social circle background, like he just doesn't even have basic social skills, cold approach is going to be a trial by fire. So it is going to be painful. That I will never deny. It might be horribly painful, especially if you don't have any social skills at all. Now, if you have some social skills, you have friends, you can talk to people, you maybe have had maybe a girlfriend here and there, maybe you've had a hookup, some semblance of some experience. Well, you're going to jump on that train a lot quicker. But let's say, you're not a horrible looking guy, but you're starting from zero. No social skills, no sexual skills. Yes, it's going to be harder. But this journey is to change a lot more than just your seduction skills. And so if you start kind of grinding out those first few approaches that are really going to suck, in the long run, you're doing yourself a better service. Plus, strangely enough, maybe I'm an isolated case here, but when I first started talking to girls, I got an onslaught of attraction. Now, some people might say I'm attractive, some people not, let's maybe ignore that. There was something in the complexity of what we call a personality that I showed when I finally started saying, okay, I'm going to try. That some women, be it a biological determinism, they smelt my fucking pheromones, there's some karmic influence from a past life where she used to be my wife. Like, I have no fucking clue. But she saw me and interacted with me, and there was a connection. So even when you're new and you suck, I've seen guys who suck by all accounts, even maybe looks. But once they were there in front of her, there was something that at least gave him a chance. Maybe he didn't sleep with her or even get a date, but there was definitely attraction. So your question, if a guy's totally new, it'll be more painful, yes, than swiping right on a rejection on online dating. Maybe you don't even know it's a rejection, because it just wasn't a swipe. But
online, you're getting a lot of rejections that you just don't know about.
Exactly.
Probably like 80%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're just not aware of it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, if a tree falls in the woods but no one hears it, did it really fall in the woods, right?
Right.
Kind of goes back to that. So what would you say are the pros and cons if you had to compare, okay, here are the pros, here are the cons of online and cold approach?
So online dating would be easier.
In what sense?
In the sense that there's not a lot of nervousness on messaging. Well, maybe. I did sometimes get nervous to like message a girl on Facebook or something. So there could be a nervousness behind it. But it's a lot easier to summon, the volition to go rather than walking up to a girl. So the initial inertia kind of just to get you going is a little bit easier. You download an app, you put a couple pictures up, you swipe right. Also, it's a bit less strenuous to go put on a nice outfit and take some nice photos. So it's lower effort in that sense. You might pay a little bit if you want to get good quality stuff, but the return is probably quite high. Because I remember when I did professional photos, like my Tinder game went fucking crazy. So effort, it requires less thinking, because once the attraction is there, once you swiped, you've got most of the stuff out of the way. You do need to text well, of course, but a lot of the establishment of the connection is kind of there. You have, it can be more validating, especially in the beginning if you are getting some success, like, wow, a girl actually likes me. And then that can give a guy some confidence to then future you go out and do, social circle, nightclub, blah, 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 blah. So it might give him that initial jump if he's really afraid to do Daygame. Now, the cons of online dating would be it becomes a habit. So the guys who I know who do Daygame do all the rest of the game, right? It's not like once you do online dating, you can't do anything else, or once you do Daygame, you can't do online dating. But the guys who do day game, I know, do everything. Whereas guys, one client in particular, I get frustrated with him is he has success over dating apps. But he's even admitted because he knows he can swipe and get a couple dates a week, there's no reason to go do day game. But then you're suffering from success because what happens is there's so much more availability that he could do online dating, but it literally stops him from doing the rest of the approaching or the night game or social circle. And so this will limit your funnel. And in my experience, it's going to limit your quality. If you have really good pictures, okay, you can get the best girls. Like I have a friend who looks like a Greek god. This dude swipes as every girl he swipes. And he has so many matches that he literally could not keep up with it. And he gets 9s and 10s, or 9s, I guess, since 10s don't exist. He gets the hottest girls matching with him, but he still gets left on red sometimes. So he can get crazy quality. I've had a few really hot girls from Tinder, and the hottest girl I ever got from Tinder, I didn't actually get her. It was a friend who matched with her, and her friend, he double booked them on a date that day. They kind of ambushed him because they were actually friends and knew that he double booked them. Then we went out with them and actually ended up sleeping with like the super hot one. So I didn't even match with her, but she was the hottest girl technically that I've met on Tinder. But he's a really good looking guy. It's a different guy who matched with her. I've matched with some cute girls, but the most beautiful women I've met were from day game or night game. So
this reminds me of the story that my business partner told me. He's like, he used to live with this like really good looking guy who's like basically a male model. So they would use his Tinder, but his texting was atrocious. It was like really bad with girls. So they use his Tinder, message girls, and set up gangbangs. So they'll be like, hey, listen, if you want to bang the good looking guy, you have to bang the not so good looking guys. And then like most girls would balk at the idea, but like he was getting so many matches that there were still a few girls that were down. They're like,
you're gonna get a yes.
They're like, doesn't sound like that way this on a Friday night. And then they would just all bang the ground.
That's fucking crazy. Dude, they literally pulled off the Transformers. They took the hot guy with shitty texting, then the ugly guy with good texting, and then they just like morphed into like the ultimate seducer and got laid.
Some of these little cons that I've heard about. Well, it's not really a con because the girl knows what's up.
I mean, yeah, you're telling her.
Yeah, but okay, so here's how I would kind of describe it, the pros and cons. So I'm not one of those people who thinks that online is better. I don't think cold approach is better either. I think there's pros and cons. I would say that one of the biggest pros with online is more efficient. Day game, I think, is the most inefficient form of game, simply because a lot of the girls you approach are not going to be available. Like you may have good game, but they're going to be either in a relationship, you're not going to be their type, they're going to be in a rush, they're going to be in a bad mood. There's so many number of factors. There's a series of factors that have to be at least somewhat decent for the day game approach to go well. The girl has to be, here are the factors that need to be in place. One, the girl has to be in a mood to at least engage with you for a few minutes, right? She cannot be super duper rushed. Like if it's a number, we're like, I gotta go, give me your number. That's not gonna lead anywhere. So the girl has to have at least a few minutes. She has to be either available or willing to cheat on her partner, right? She can't be in a committed, loving relationship. What's it called? You have to be at least somewhat her type. Meaning like if she's only into like, black guys and you're a white guy, like, yeah, you're probably not going to get anywhere with that. So there's a bunch of factors that need to be in place, which inquires that you're going to do volume. Now, another problem you might face with day game, and this really depends on where you live, but is that a lack of volume. So if you go to night game and you go to a bar, there's a lot of girls there, right? You can just approach. Not saying I'm a fan of that, but with day game, you might have to walk around for a significant period of time before you see a girl that's available. Quite often with day game, you find situations that the girl is, with her family, and like those are just like low probability approaches. I've pulled that off. Like I picked up, moms who were their kids. I picked up, daughters who were their moms. But again, like if I look at statistics, those are low probability situations. Like should you go for a trip? It's just, don't be surprised if it doesn't go anywhere. So those I would say is the big con with day game. I think online is just much more efficient. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You can do it while you take a shit. You can do it while you're stuck in traffic. You can do it while you're away at the bank, and then you set up dates. You can set them up to come straight to your house. You can filter pretty aggressively. So I do think online is more efficient. I would say one of the big pros with day game is I do think that you can get, on average, a higher caliber of girls. That's not to say you can't get hot girls from online. You can, and people do. But I think more like With day game, you're going to find more of the girlfriend worthy girls. Like on average, there's still some definitely girlfriend worthy girls online, but I do think that there's a certain type of girl that doesn't fuck with dating apps that's pretty attractive that you can stumble upon from day game and night game. And so, yeah, I will say that. And the other type of girl that you can get from day game that you can't really get from online is the girl who's super popular on social media. So the girl who has over 300,000 followers on Instagram, you're just not going to get her from online, or at least it's not likely. Versus from day game or night game, you can get her. So I would say those are the pros and cons kind of right there.
Okay. The volume problem. So actually, I was a couple days ago, I was recording a video, and it's titled something like "The Infinity of Beautiful Available Women," and that on a practical level, like there's different levels of infinity in mathematics. So I kind of took that and I was like, okay, practically infinite number of beautiful women. So the only exception would be if you're in a really small town. But I did some basic math and I went out. So I'm in Kyiv, Ukraine. There is a little bit of a more focus of hot girls from my type. But I went out and as an experiment, at first I tried to do statistics of just like how many girls, like 100 girls, how many are like pretty. But I was like, fuck it. Okay, I'll just go out and look. So I was going out and I was in the center of town. Okay, so people maybe have a little bit more money. So for a lot of different reasons, you know, that's going to make girls a bit hotter if you want me to get into that. But you're going out and I said, okay, I'm going to look at 20 girls. How many of them like fit each strata? So the number of like cute girls, like fuckable, was like 1 in 3. And then like cute girls, like cute / pretty. So 6 is fuckable, 7 is cute / pretty. I would say like it was 1 in 4, right? And then like beautiful was like 1 in, I think out of the 20 girls I saw, there was 2 like beautiful girls, like who could be models. And then one of them maybe I would say is like a 10, right? But of 20 girls that I just walked past, one of them was a hostess at a restaurant. So that might have been a little bit of a, you know, selection bias. But one of them was just some random girl. But then there was, within 20 girls, there was at least like 3 or 4 that were like really pretty. So if you want to test it yourself, if Daygame has a volume, go out and don't even approach girls. Maybe you have approach anxiety or whatever, and just go count, like get a clicker or like your phone and put down like 18 to 30, or, you know, if you like MILFs or whatever, you know, so age range, and then count how many are like pretty and that you like, and see the real volume that there is out there. Plus, I think I should make it a part of their lifestyle. Because are you talking more about sarging? Like you go out and like we're doing day game, right?
Oh God, I hate that word so much. It's like literally my least favorite word in the dictionary. Yeah, I'm just talking about like doing day game sessions, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. Just day game in general, honestly.
Mm-hmm. So what I like to teach guys is to, especially because I don't want them thinking you got to go out and do 20 approaches. If you want to find some fucking action, okay, yeah. You go out for 5 days a week and you do 20, 30 approaches a day, you're going to find some shit. It might be a little inefficient, but maybe count how much time you spend on dating apps too, and see the real number, and see like how efficient are you on dating apps. If you're spending at least a couple hours a week on dating apps, you could mirror that and put those couple hours a week in day game and see how your results change, just as an experiment, split testing. But you can make day game a part of your lifestyle. You got to go to work. You got to go to the gym. You got to go get groceries. Do 1 approach a day.
Unless you have a pickup channel, in which case you just get to sit around on your computer and talk about game.
Exactly.
And get paid for it.
Like I would never go outside. Like if I had to go outside, I'm like, it's almost, and plus I have an approach addiction. So it's like if I go out and I see a pretty girl, you know, little Hector is going to tell me to go talk to her, and there's nothing I can fucking do about it. So I have to go approach girls. So it's almost like if I go outside, I gotta approach. It's like, okay, well, that's gonna add some time onto me going to the bank.
I wish I had that kind of like, I used to have that kind of desire, but for me, it's more like only if the girl's like very porn star looking, like my 9 or 10, do I have that desire, which is like, frankly, those girls are somewhat rare. I mean, Miami, they're not that rare, but like, it's not, you're not gonna run it. It's like if the girl just looks like a strict, like she came out of a porno and she's got huge tits and a huge ass. In that case, I am motivated to approach. But like every other, like, you know, just pretty girls, I'm just like, yeah, she's cute. Just like I walk away. So I get the most motivated to approach is when I'm filming infield, because I feel like I have to for the camera and to show the guys. That's like my biggest motivation. So it's more logical than biological. But okay, so going back to this, I think that to me, this is what I've kind of told my close friends. I think I've talked about this publicly as well. Some people don't really like this analogy, but I will say it nevertheless. I feel like to some extent, cold approach is quote unquote peasant game. And I'll explain on that. It's like it's okay. Can you imagine like a celebrity doing cold approach or like a high value guy? They don't really need to do that, right? Because the girls come to them. That's not how they meet girls. They go to like some, exclusive venue where the ratio is quite favorable in their favor. And then the girls are, mostly it's just like, it's more like socializing. And then the girls are coming to them. Girls are sliding in their DMs. Now, of course, I know that's not practical to 99% of the population. Okay. Where does online fit into that? Online is somewhere in the middle. The problem with cold approach, as much as you want to try to flip the dynamic and you want to be the buyer and she's the seller, at the end of the day, the innate dynamic is that you're the seller because you're the one that approached her. It's the same thing as if you're like knocking. Okay, I'll make a business analogy. Let's say you're doing door-to-door sales. You're knocking on people's doors. Mm-hmm. Now you might try to reframe and position it as if they are the ones who want your product. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, and they know that you're the one who's trying to quote unquote pitch them. Now, let's say you have good marketing and people are calling in your center and people coming into your office trying to buy your product. Mm-hmm. That's a different dynamic right there. So that therein is what I think is one of the problems with cold approach. It's also possibly a good thing because it forces you to kind of not have an ego and it kind of forces you to be a little humble, which is good to some extent. Mm-hmm. But that is what I think is the problem with cold approach. And what I just think is that cold approach is a great place to start. And I think it's probably something you should do for, as long as you live to some extent, but you don't want to just be cold approaching for like long periods of time. Eventually you want to position your life and your situation so that there's more inbound leads coming in. It's not all you just having to go out and scour for leads. Mm-hmm. Like a salesman wouldn't be like, I used to work in sales and we used to say that like, once you were in sales for a while and you're a good salesperson, a lot of your sales were coming from referrals. You were still doing some door-to-door and shit, and you were still doing some marketing, but it wasn't the primary source for you. Like at some point you evolve and you start having some leads coming in from the work that you put in, from the seeds that you plant. So that's kind of the analogy I would give is you don't want to be doing quote-unquote peasant shit indefinitely.
No, I mean, it's an apt analogy. There's some issues. Well, you can just reframe it and say, okay, well, I'm just building a cathedral the old-fashioned way, brick by brick. It's going to be a lot stronger than fucking aluminum, I can order people to bring it in too. That would be super king shit. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the feeling of doing it yourself, right? So I could use an analogy. But there is one problem that I've seen with high-value guys. So king shit. Not like Dan Bilzerian level where he's explained it. It's so smart. He's like, just set up a life where girls come to you. Low ratio, have the girls like come for pedicures and stuff, and then they don't see a lot of guys. They're going to want to fuck the only few guys there. Then he uses the status of Instagram, It's genius. But guys who I know who were like big in social circle, they worked at the club with me in California. They would go out with their industry buddies looking cool. He would do cold approach though, occasionally, but it was such a low effort shit. So it was like the top of like king shit. He would go and stand there in the middle of the club. He had some advantages. He was gorgeous and tall. Half Italian, half Puerto Rican. Like, girls just loved it.
Dan Bilzerian?
No, friend of mine.
Oh, okay. He's 100% Armenian. He's not that tall.
No. Like a friend who I feel like was on that king shit level, And he would pose himself as high status, and girls would come by, and this was his approach. He would just like gently. It was like the lowest effort shit I've ever seen. He would gently tap the lower back. And then he knew that if they were going to turn around, because they know he's there, they're acting like, oh, just walking by. And then some girls would just turn and some girls kind of ignore it. And that was the farthest he went. Now, that has a lot of advantages. But what was interesting was that he was limited to girls who were high interest. And so he's kind of knocking his volume. And one thing that I noticed is when I was doing like hounding Daygame, like bloodhound Daygame, where I didn't give a fuck, he would look on with like a fascination and he would like enjoy watching me approach girls. And I would talk to her for like 30 seconds, which kind of goes back to the whole. Like,
oh, it's fascinating, dude. I sometimes when I'm walking around and I see someone doing a cold approach, they probably don't even know they're doing cold approach. They're like, tell the story. I have this guy. He's like an older guy who I, chat up. It sounds kind of gay now that I think about it. He's an older guy who I chat up with at the gym. He's real jacked. I'm trying to get the number close. I'm trying to summon up the courage. Like, hey, bro, man, want to catch a workout together? But yeah, so the super cool guy. Like sometimes whatever he spots me and shit like that. So. That sounds like it.
He leans over me.
Fuck off, guys. I'm trying to guy, okay? I'm trying to impress him with my YouTube channel. Yeah. But anyway, so but he's like an older guy. He's not like the cold pro. He's probably like 45, 50, whatever. And anyway, so one time I hadn't been to the gym in a while. I'm walking my dog. I see him. We're chatting, and then there's this girl, who, not my type at all, but he makes eye contact with her, and he starts chatting her up, right? And I'm just fascinated by this because I'm like, this guy is doing a cold approach, but he doesn't even really know he's doing a cold approach, I guess. So I'm just listening in and watching this, and like, I'm just fascinated. Like, even though I have to go, I have shit to do, I'd rather sit around and be late to whatever shit I have and just listen to this. So it is fascinating, like watching people do cold approaches. That's why infield is so popular. Even rejection compilations. Whenever I release a rejection compilation, it gets a lot of views because people want to see that shit.
I've had people walk up to me after a cold approach, and they were like, one time I remember this couple walked up to me, and I thought they were gonna because I got rejected, and I thought they were gonna fucking shame me. But they ended up saying that was so cool what you did. Like, that was interesting. And I and I even did it in my campus, which was so stupid. It was like 7,000 people, but I knew people who knew the girl. They're like, yeah, I heard you talk to her, and they're like, I could never do that. I think it's a fascination it's like our fascination with MMA fighters or with warriors. It's like, if you're doing something that is so basic but so primal, like, maybe the king spends too much time in his throne and starts to get fat and lazy. Whereas the worker, the blacksmith, is always being like manly. And maybe at the end of the day, he's going to actually seduce the queen or something, because he hasn't.
Then the king will chop his head off and.
Well, now, yeah. She really loves him. She's going to do everything to protect him. But like, he never loses that masculinity. And like, you made a point though. You pointed out, it's like you never lose your. You never lose your humility, and you make sure you don't get too big of an ego. And so I think that's part of it too. It's like you stay on the grind, and it always keeps you sharp. So that's like a long-term, it makes you feel good. Like, you do an approach, you feel like a fucking man. So I think that would be a plus to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It does keep you sharp, and I do think that you probably never want to get to a point where you just never approach. I will say that I've seen in the community people take too much of an extreme stance. I see the people who are just like blow cold approach and make it seem like it's like, I don't know, like cold approaches at the end of the day is a means to an end, and then make it seem like an end of itself. They just like make it seem like it's some glorious thing that's awesome and something like some sacred ritual, and they just overblow its, and they say that everything else is not real game, blah blah blah. And then there are the guys who are just like, nah, all about lifestyle, bro. I don't even approach. Like, you got like AMS sort of in that camp, like lifestyle, bro. Right? So
him specifically, he's okay. He looks for approach invitations, but some people do say it's blue pilled to approach. It's like, oh, you're giving her validation. I was like, not a validation. You're giving her validation when you put your dick in her, right? Your dick getting hard is validation. It's telling her she's attractive. On some level, you're always going to give her validation. But the amount of validation you give for approaching her, if she takes that validation and doesn't like you because of it, there wasn't a high threshold of attraction there in the first place.
So what if you give her validation?
Yeah. So what? She sucks your dick. It's mutual validation.
Good if you gave her a random person validation.
Yeah.
I'm friendly with all my neighbors. Like, I give them validation when I say, hey, how's your day going? Like, oh shit, I gave old Phyllis validation.
Oh, she thinks I'm a fucking simp now. She wants the.
Phyllis is gonna think I'm trying to simp for her.
Yeah, wants the grandma titties.
Yeah. So but so I do think that the right position is somewhere in the middle. Let's kind of circle to this. What are some? Let's give some before we take questions. Let's give some practical tips to be successful in cold approach.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, so first I would fix your fundamentals. So when you're a beginner, your focus needs to be on fundamentals. If you're too worried about what am I going to say, then you're going to get lost in the process. This is your basic process. Walk up, talk to her. I like giving compliments, and I don't think the argument of, oh, it gives her too much validation is really warranted. It's fine. You give her a compliment, or you just say hi. Be like, hey, what's your name? Wanted to come talk to you. You look interesting, right? But that's a compliment, I guess. Have a basic conversation with her. This is not going to happen more than 5 minutes at the max. And then say, we should get a coffee sometime. That's the basic fucking process, right? So that's in your head. After that, let me fix my hands so you can actually see it. You need to worry about how are you being seen in that 5-minute window or 2-minute window. Okay, dress, relatively nice, get my shit together. Those are what I call the passive fundamentals. But what you really need to work on is your active fundamentals. So your hands, how are they speaking for you? They add some flair to the way that you speak. How are you looking? Like your eyes, right? What are you looking at? How much are you looking at her? How much are you not looking at her? Your voice. Number one, most important, is your voice. Am I enunciating? Am I speaking clearly? Am I speaking too fast, too slow? Am I too high pitched, too low pitched? And I'm trying so hard to be deep. Facial expressions. Look, you're not gonna have a fucking seizure while you're talking to her, But you want to look at the way that you almost like hold up a mirror and see yourself interacting with her as you talk to her, because your game is your words and your thoughts being transmitted, but a lot of that is through the facial expressions, hand gesture, vocal tonalities, etc. So be aware of that and then work on those each specific ones, but your voice needs to be the number one thing. So then you're walking up, hey, I think you're really pretty. Okay, how could I have made that more interesting? Maybe I need to intonate a little better. Hey, take a pause. I saw you over here and you're really pretty. What's your name? So much better. There's a little bit more like personality to what you just said, right? And so kind of become like a doctor or a surgeon and kind of analyze those small details. Every time you go talk to a girl, just like write a little note on your phone. Be like, how was my voice? How was my eye contact? How was my body language? What could I have done better? And if you don't have that self-awareness, well, then you develop that self-awareness while you're doing it. And if you do enough of them, you're not going to be so, oh my God, I'm approaching a girl. You're like, okay, this is like my 10th or 15th approach. I've done it before. I didn't die. Okay, now I'm going to start paying attention to how I come off. That's the number one thing that I would say to focus on. The details are just going to be more refined criticisms of either your fundamentals or what you said. If you're a beginner, though, focus on your fundamentals. If you're more experienced, I would say then you need to start watching what am I communicating to her, like in a big picture. Because a big problem with some guys is they're too smooth, right? And then they come off like the player, and she knows, because if you get responses like, oh, do you do this a lot? That means you're coming off like a player. Then you need to start doing things, your diction, your choice of words, the way you're expressing yourself, so your fundamentals. How am I coming off that makes her think I'm a player? And even though it's attractive, it's kind of putting her off. So beginners fundamentals.
I would almost argue that that's not even really an issue. Like if you're coming off as a player, as long as you handle it with like without being smug. If she says, "Oh, do you do this a lot?" No, I'm a virgin. Like if you respond to it with like kind of humor and sarcasm, like that's not a problem. Like confidence and cockiness is largely attractive. I know what you mean, but I would feel like that's an issue. You'd have to go really extreme for that to be an issue.
I guess I wouldn't be extreme, but I've had some clients, once they started getting a lot of success, girls can smell on you if you get pussy. Girls I call it the player paradox. Girls like you the more experienced you are, but at the same time, then you have an attainability issue, which is what I talk about. Or they kind of feel like, oh, I'm just going to be another notch in his bedpost. And guys kind of in the red pill and everything, they kind of say, oh, the girls like that guy. They like the Chad. Yes and no, because sometimes you lose a lot of girls who, when you were more inexperienced, they might have liked you. So what do you have to do? It's kind of like a knob. Well, I can't be unexperienced anymore. What can I change? Oh, maybe be a little bit nicer. Maybe even act a little bit more beta. Not like to the extreme, but a little bit. Okay, maybe come off a little bit less like cocky. Make a little bit less jokes, a little bit less intense eye contact, and see. And when I started turning those little knobs, I saw that their defenses went down. But of course, yes, if she calls you out on your shit, and then you just go, oh yeah, like you said, oh yeah, I'm a virgin, and be like, oh yeah, you're the 10th, approach I've done today, or no, I only approach girls I'm really attracted to, and you stood out to me. If you handle that and you outframe it, that's one way to do it. But I thought I've been pretty clever with my responses, and I still lost her. But overall, it's better to have those problems. Those are quality problems to have.
All right. I'll just give a few practical tips. So number one, I would say is really focus on maximizing your SME before you leave the house. So go to a barbershop, get a fresh cut, get your beard on point, get clothes that fit you well. You really want to maximize your passive SMV, whatever we want to call it. If you have a dog, that definitely helps. People always give me shit for like going out with my dog. Like I got my dog a year ago. I was getting laid well before that, but it definitely helps. You want to stack all the advantages in your favor. Like if you're like, oh, is this cheating? Doesn't matter. Still do it. You want to cheat. I cheated my way through college. And I'm okay. Like I literally I cheated my way all through college. Yeah, I didn't fucking go to class. I was just partying and shit, and I did okay for myself. So, cheating is okay, to some extent. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second of all is pay attention for girls looking at you. We'll call it passive attraction, whatever. So if a girl makes eye contact with you, then those are going to be higher probability. 3, just fucking do it. Don't think, don't dilly-daddle. The more you think, the more awkward it will be. You just kind of have to go for it. That's really the only way. So you see a cute girl, just go for it. The longer you think about it, the worse it will get. 4, make sure you stop the girl. Don't walk with the girl. Don't follow her. Stop. Focus first on stopping the girl if she's walking. If the girl is sitting, you want to sit next to her. You don't want to be standing over her. So that's a big thing. 5, just when you're shooting the shit with a girl, don't talk about yourself too much. It's not necessary. Ask more questions and just vibe and banter on what she says. So, for example, like, so what are you up to today? Oh, I'm going to the gym. Oh, cool. Yeah, you getting your booty pumped for July 4th. Haha, yeah. What are you doing for July 4th? Oh, I'm doing this. Like again, like you're just building, basically building strings of conversation. Don't get stuck too much on one conversation thread. If a thread looks like it's not going anywhere, then you just move on to a different thread. 4, 5, or 6. You don't really focus so much on the Insta dates or anything like that. If it happens, cool, but just get solid numbers. Say, hey, you and I should grab drinks sometimes. Simple closes. Wait for the girl to say yes and then get her number. Don't do Instagram. Don't do Snapchat. All that is largely a waste of time. And then bam, that's really like 70-80% of Daygame.
That's good. The approach invitations thing is big. Like, yeah, that's going to increase your efficiency so much if you just look for the girls who give you those signs of interest.
100%. All right, let's take a few questions and then we'll call it.
Okay.
Alex and Hector, address the question. What do you guys think about warm approach? It's great when it happens, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
That would be an approach invitation, and then you approach because she gave you some sign of interest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's going to increase you're going to have like a 90% chance of having a nice conversation. You might not, get with her, but at least you're getting in the door. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's good. It's great. If she's giving you a sign of interest, it means your fundamentals are good.
But I think some people rely on it too much. They're like, oh, I have to get the IOI before I can approach.
I see the question.
But yeah. You want to use it to your advantage, but not get dependent on it.
Right. Don't use it as a crutch.
Cold approaching cafes or grocery stores. I would personally prefer grocery stores. What's your take on this?
Hi, Kirk. I know Kirk. Cold approaching in cafes or grocery stores. Grocery stores. Cafes are weird to me. I don't like them. I mean, it feels too. I mean, I've done it, but it feels too quiet, too enclosed, unless it's a big one. And it's kind of a place where you have to like, all right, I'm gonna sit like 2 places away from her and kind of wait a couple minutes and then shoot it. Because if I approach one girl, like, well, that's my only approach for for the next hour. Grocery stores, it's on the move. Girls can have a lot more opportunity to give you signs of interest. Like, she sees you and all of a sudden she comes to check out the chicken with you, and she's a fucking chicken connoisseur all of a sudden, and she's checking out every little detail of the chicken and kind of doing these, and then you see her walk away. It's like, all right, that was a huge, like, there was no reason for her to be there, and she came over here after seeing me. There's so many more opportunities for women to give signs of interest at a grocery store, and it's more hustling and bustling, and that gives you more opportunity to do a couple more approaches.
Yeah, I was interviewing Miss Raquel, who's a porn star, and she was saying that one of the things she had to do for a shoot was go to a grocery store and start deep throating like a cucumber. So the point I'm trying to make is if you see a girl deep throating a cucumber with big titties, approach.
There you go.
How long is too long for sex? For me, it's anything more than 2 dates.
Oh, like, I think you meant like the actual session itself. So like her making you wait?
Yeah.
Is that the question? Yeah. Oh, okay. Nice picture, by the way. What anime is that from? Okay, so how long is too long? I liked to have the idea that if she doesn't fuck me on the first date, like, I toss her aside, but I'm a little bit of a dog sometimes. So I would go 2, maybe if I really like the girl, I'll go like for 2 or 3 attempts.
The most I've ever done is 3.
3, really?
Yeah, that's like the most. I didn't like Alex at first, so I realized I was watching from a simp mentality. He's the real deal. Thank you, sir.
Nice.
I'm glad we can be friends. Let me see. 24 male version, Buffalo, New York. How do you run day game in mid-sized city? Old shows, too many matches in Southern Ontario. I mean, I would probably do pretty much the same thing. Buffalo is like probably what 500,000 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I would probably do same strategy. It's not like a super small town or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still gonna have like a decent amount of people there.
Yeah. I would say if you're anything like I was doing day game on a campus of 7,000 people, and so that's what I tell people. It's a small town. Plus, like, no, dude, you could be going nuts, and you're never going to see the same person like in a couple months. I don't think you have any problem doing mass approaching. But if you're really worried about it and you want to kind of get out of your anxiety first, then start looking for warm approaches.
Yeah, I mean, even if you approach the same person, I remember I lived in LA, a huge city, and I used to do so much approaching. One chick was like, "You've literally approached me 6 times this month."
Times this month?
Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it was like 3 times this month.
Jesus.
She's like, "You've approached me multiple times this month. I still have a boyfriend, Alex." She's like, "No, it's my name."
At least you know that you got to type. Like,
I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll check back with you in a few weeks. We'll revisit this issue."
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's probably where's the question I was trying to
anime Hunter x Hunter. Okay.
I want to hit this one. All right, we'll end off on this. I've approached so many girls and experienced nothing but rejection. Should I hit the gym, get a hair transplant, and try again?
I'd have to know more.
Yeah.
Send me a message. Go to my Instagram. Send me a message. Say, hey, this is Baldrick from the stream. I'd have to have more detail. Because you hear something like that and you're like, fuck, is Daygame really worth it? I've experienced nothing but rejection. If you've experienced nothing but rejection, there's something seriously wrong with the way you're coming off. I don't think it has to do with looks that much. It could be a factor, but I think it's just the way you're coming off. It's your vibe. That's my experience with guys who really struggle with cold approach. It's your vibe is way off. Yeah,
I would also need more information, so I wouldn't be able to say. I'd have to see what you look like. Are you really that ugly? Maybe you're not. Maybe you're somewhat decent looking. I have bald friends who do pretty well. So the hair, it definitely helps to have hair. But I know skinny people who also do well. But all those things help. Especially the gym is just good for your general health. So you should definitely do that either way. Hair transplant, can't hurt if you have the money and you don't mind the recovery. But now they're doing it with local anesthesia, so it's not even that bad. So I would need more information on that. All right, guys. So we just want to do a quick podcast. We also want to plug Hectors. He has a new product coming out on Daygame. So you want to give a little more info about that?
Sure. So I got a course coming out called Meet Girls Everywhere. It's coming out on July 17th. What we'll do is we'll put a link for Alex to put in the description. What you do is you put in your email and you get sign up for the newsletter leading up to the release, and you'll get free content along the way that you only get when you sign up with your email. And then when July 17th comes, you'll know where to go to buy it, and it'll only be available for 4 days. It's a little marketing thing, like, oh, doors only open for 4 days, but it has a purpose. It's summer, quarantine is ending, lifting restrictions maybe where you are. So girls just got done, having a year possibly being lonely, and they were only left with, their finger. So now they want to go out, have some fun. So sexual tension is high. People want to go out, socialize. It's summer, weather's nice. Go out and take advantage of it. July 17th to the 21st, it'll be open, doors open, get it, and then start getting some approaching in before, the fall hits or the winter hits. And then, you have an excuse not to go approach. So if you sign up for it, you'll get it. It's a great product. I basically took what I learned from coaching guys, both in person and over phone coaching, Daygame, the things that I learned personally. So you're going to learn a lot more than you would if you were doing it on your own, and you save so much time. I make it really simple, even to a point where some of the content I was like, is this too simple? Again, it sounds like a marketing is it too simple? But it literally felt that way for me. But then I realized this is just something that people either overcomplicate or they haven't even tried. But if you just hit these simple points that I point out, focusing on your fundamentals, how to look for approach invitations, I give you a list. I give it in the video, and then you can download it on your phone. It's literally 20 points. If you see these are like a 70% chance, 90% chance of attraction. If you see these, and you can go out with your phone and have a little list, this is probably her not being interested, right? And so you can go out, start approaching, look for these signs, know how to walk up to her, approach it from the front, approach it from the side, what to say. You're never going to worry about what do I say next, because I teach you how to have basic conversation from basic questions. So have the nice conversation. You vibe for a couple minutes. That's it. Literally 5 minutes is the max you should be talking to her. So you talk for a couple minutes, you suggest a date, you get her number, you take her out. I even teach you how to text her to then set up the date, and then boom, you're getting dates. So you're going to get the highest quality women. You have an unlimited supply. Basically, you can do it whenever you want. You don't have to wait for Friday, Saturday night. I know we talked about online dating. You don't have to rely on your pictures. Online dating is a great auxiliary for me. I don't think you should do only one or the other. I think you should be doing all of them. But you definitely should be also doing cold approaching. Highest quality girls. You're going to grind out your personality. You're going to learn so much really quickly. And it's a lot of fun, dude. Like, you see those beautiful girls, all the guys look at her. Dude, go out, wait, look up beautiful girls, and they all check her out. You're going to be the one who actually approaches them. And people are going to look at you with fascination, as we talked about with our examples, and you get her number, and you're different from all the other guys who just stare at her but don't have the balls to approach her. So Meet Girls Everywhere. It's going to come out on July 17th. I hope you like my little marketing pitch.
I'm going to be releasing a product about how to pick up dudes at the gym. So
old guys.
Coming out July 18th. It's going to be really good. I'm going to show you guys how to, when you have that cool older guy at the gym who's got mad muscle, how do you strategically lead the way in there? So that's going to be my
ask them to spot you. It's like a secret technique.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So check out Hectors. They really have a dope channel, Girlschase. Check them out on YouTube. Check out their website, girlschase.com. They really have some awesome articles. I've learned good amount from there. Like, it's a lot of stuff that, like, I sort of already thought, but I never could put it into words. And like, they were able to put like what I was already kind of thinking in my subconscious into words. So very good, in-depth articles in there. So, and it's all free. So at the very least, check that out. Show your support. Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. We got some good stuff coming up in the future, so make sure you subscribe to our channel as well if you aren't already. We got some dope videos dropping, some dope collabs. We're powering through until 100K. Once we hit 100K, we're going to, as I always say, we're going to build a studio, and we're going to do some really crazy shit. We're going to get the Miami porn stars in and do some Howard Stern type of shit. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Good chatting, Hector. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Ciao, guys.